I'm so glad to be here. So I'm just coming on this morning. Want to welcome everyone. I'm doing a free chat this morning with a special guest, and we are going to be chatting about all things birth business. So if you're a midwife, a midwifery student planning to run a business, or even a doula or lactation consultant, or anyone else working in birth business, you know there are special challenges to this life of being on call and running a business. So what we're going to do is we're going to chat all about that today. We're also going to be chatting about the work of running a business, running a practice, and see what happens. Good to see you. It worked.
Hi, it did.
Awesome. Hi, sweetheart. How are
Hi,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Is it too late there?
No, not at all. I'm just trying to orient myself to the phone. I can't really see part of myself because part of the screen is okay.
Well, you look amazing. Let's just start with that. Hi.
Right. You too.
Well, so thank you for joining me today. I'm so glad to have this chat with you. You and I have chatted all over the world. We have chatted in hot tubs and in boardrooms and over the phone and all the things. So I'm so happy to finally have this time in the digital space with you and to pick your brain about how birth business has gone for you. And just so happy to see you.
Yeah.
So will you do a little intro? Tell us where you are in the world, where you are in midwifery, and then we'll kind of jump into the conversation.
Okay. So I am in Alaska. I am a certified professional, and in the state of Alaska, I am a certified direct entry midwife. Are you getting reverberation, Augustine? Is this okay sound for everyone?
Yeah, it sounds good to me. Yeah, if
Okay.
anyone has foresight, definitely let us know, but it sounds great.
Okay. And so, yeah, I have a home birth practice in Anchorage, Alaska. Anchorage is our largest city, so I'm kind of a city midwife. I do exclusively home birth. I also really focus on postpartum and newborn care. And so I do a lot of not birth midwifery care as actually a growing part of my practice. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Very cool.
And
Well, I
so,
want to explore that as well, because that. So,
Mhm.
will you go a little bit further back and tell us how the midwifery bug got you? Like, why did you get into midwifery? Were you straight out of, teenage world into midwifery, or did you have another career first? And what pulled you in?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Absolutely. All the way back, huh? So it's funny. I was talking to my goddaughter, and I didn't even know midwifery existed before I went to college. So I feel like it's so hilarious that we expect young people to know what they want to do. I didn't even know midwifery existed, so I just find that hilarious. I have an undergraduate degree I completed at University of Alaska, and then I took off and traveled for a while, and I became a yoga teacher. I was a competitive gymnast for a long time, and that blended into yoga, and I was always so fascinated with anatomy. I have a bio degree with a pre-medical background because I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a pharmacist. No, life had other plans for me.
Now that
So,
I know you, that's really funny.
I mean, can't you see it though? Like, you can really kind of see it though, right? Like, control everything. It's going to be so great. And so I didn't come to midwifery. My first career, I was 14 years in the service industry. So I was everything front of house. I started as a hostess, and then I was a barista, I was a server, I was a manager. I did it all, right? And I did that for 14 years because the cash was good. I had the freedom to travel and do my life and teach yoga and do all of that stuff. And then when I was about 26, I was getting my own itch to be like, do I want to have kids? What do I want to do? And I didn't want to go to medical school. And so midwifery wove its way into my path before I even had my first baby. When I was a yoga teacher, I was doing a lot of prenatal yoga teaching, and I was starting to already, it was just coming to me like midwifery does for all of us. It just was weaving its way to me like, ooh, you love anatomy. You're going to love labor mechanics. It's going to really get you excited, right? And then I got pregnant and I had a midwifery experience in birth center birth. And then I continued to serve for like 5 more years. But I was getting that push of I've gotta make a choice and I gotta go. And so I kind of dove head into an apprenticeship with a very busy birth center. I finished my apprenticeship in just under 3 years. I also was pregnant and gave birth to my second daughter during my apprenticeship. It was a whirlwind. It was awesome. By the time I submitted my paperwork, I think I had like 83 births. So it was a really good power pack experience. I think my daughter is like gone to almost as many births as me, it feels like, because like primary stage was so jam-packed when I was pregnant. And so, yeah, and then, I'm sorry, so now I'm derailing. But yeah, so midwifery didn't show up into my life until I was ready for it, right? And honestly, that leads really well into, I had a jam-packed apprenticeship. And then I got out and I was on my own. There were like no jobs to be had, right? Anchorage is pretty saturated. And when I became a midwife, I knew I was doing it to never have to work for anyone ever again. I knew that these credentials were going to open my door, right? Oh, and for route, I was a PEP process. So just so everybody knows, I licensed in 2018, so I did not run into the MEEK stuff. I have a MEEK bridge that I'm working on. But just so everybody knows my path. But then I became a practitioner and I opened a home birth practice and I had huge goals and all these, how am I going to do it? Right? Like it was overwhelming and exhilarating all at once. And I was so lucky to actually work with Augustine. She came up and did a workshop. And I think I had done 2 births back to back. I think I had done a twins birth and a singleton, like in 6 hours. And then I had a suturing workshop, an advanced practice workshop for like a 3rd day with Augustine when we're running like crash drills. It was a lot. But I met her there. And if you know Augustine, she's just delightful and so smart. And her approach to how she did her teaching in her advanced practice workshop was so sustainable and so in agency and in power that I was absolutely smitten. Because I do midwifery for women's health, but I do it because I protect the sovereignty of the experience of the individual to have their experience, right? That's part that with women, the power with leadership is that leaning in, wanting to know more. And so she had told me she was doing this birth business course, and I had actually found out about her via the internet in my first year of apprenticeship. And I was like, oh, when I license, I'm going to totally work with this lady. 3 years later, I'm like, I don't even remember that. And then she teaches this workshop, and I'm like, oh my God, well, I guess I have to work with you. And it changed everything. It changed everything. So I'll let Augustine talk now, and then we can kind of keep going.
Well, so that's exactly where I want to go, is to the Birth Business Masterclass, because you joined us and went through the whole series with me. And you remember it's like a 6-week intensive, all the daily content, weekly calls. And we're about to start again February 1st. And of course, because you've done it, you get to do it again if you want to, lifetime access. Yeah. But I'm particularly interested in the pain points that you experience coming out on your own, and what your solutions were to the pain points. So one of the major pain points is never having time off. Another, major pain point that midwives complain about is work-life balance. So what were those for you? What were the challenges?
So sorry, I've got to put this thing down. My arm is like, ah.
Yeah.
Okay, so pain points and challenges. Oh my goodness, that's. Let me collect real quick.
Yeah. When you came out on your own, what was the part where you're like, this is not sustainable? How do midwives do this?
my path to midwifery really was brought about in the acute sense because I experienced extreme postpartum anxiety with my son. And so when I became a midwife, there was a lot of healing that happened for me through the knowledge, the education, and really honestly the connection of learning that there is a different way. And that healing of me becoming a midwife really helped me heal that part of myself. And then I became a licensed midwife with no safety net and no idea how to go forward on my own as an apprentice from a very busy birth center, right? That now didn't have a job, but I had a license and I had a lot of grit, and I didn't know what to do. So the pain points for me were, where do you even start, right? Especially in the 21st century, right? Because we're going to be a different kind of midwife than our forebearers were, right? The way we're integrating, even with the CPM credential and the press for education, this modern midwife is one that's, how do people find midwives? What do people really think midwives do, right? How do you identify, how you would even locate the clients you even want to see? I mean, how many Facebook groups can you be on all the time, right? Like, where does it even go, right? You know, I luckily in my jack of or Jill of all trades, I had done bookkeeping at a point when I was with my son when he was younger. So I felt okay on some of the administrative stuff, but I didn't even know how to go about. So do you pick a business name, and then do you get a license, and then you get an LLC, and then I do what? Okay, now I'm lost. You know, the problem when we don't have safety nets in place that help the economic stability of midwife student retention, midwife licensure and completion, and then early midwife employment, we don't have this infrastructure in place is, I mean, we already know this. It's just, it doesn't support the longevity and the legacy of midwifery. It does not save the moms that we should be saving, right? And inherently, it's unsustainable. And so here I am as a new midwife, trying to hone a craft that is a darling, darling new baby, right? Darling new baby of mine, right? And I have midwives all around me, and I'm lucky because I actually do have a strong community of backup network, but I didn't necessarily have the strength of all of us being united, right? That somebody was going to hold my hand and help me know this, you know. And so those are the pain points, right? That was the pain point.
One of them can even go one step further. I don't think this is really happening in Anchorage very much. You guys have a really good community on the whole, but there's also even this sort of kill their young kind of conception that's out there in U.S. midwifery, where you know, as soon as, or even before your midwife is out, your student is out graduated, there's slander and there's back talk and there's really, you know, ways to try to dissuade the public from choosing the very person you trained, which is crazy to me. So this hostile environment is real as well. Not just not having support, but actually having hostility is happening for many new midwives as well. It's a real crisis point, I think. It's a real crisis point. So you came on to do the Birth Business Club, and you got through the businessy part. And that's certainly a big part of it, like LLC and S Corp and taxes and all those pieces. But then the next piece that I feel really strongly about is this balance, this idea of balance between home and work life, balance with off-call time, balance between even the art and the science, the delegation versus the heart-centered caring, like all the parts that is the nuance of practicing midwifery. Will you tell me a little bit about how that part of the course sat with you and what worked for you?
Well, it transformed everything. And it comes back to, I'm a huge Brene Brown fan too, right? It comes back to that what we're actually witnessing die, if we're paying attention, is the patriarchy, which is a power over structure, right? And midwifery is with women, it is with power. It's to empower, it's to share power, to grow it together. And the modern midwife is going to have to understand that to be of the most use that they can be to their community in a way that uplifts and delights themselves and their community. And your course is what made me understand that it wasn't just about, oh, I'm gonna get all my certification and I'm gonna do the Google ads and I'm gonna do it all right, right? I'm gonna have this many births at this much, and then I'm gonna positivity preach myself there, and then, you know, all of it. It just the cataclysm that is being in the power of being a veil walker, like a midwife, right? And holding an art and a science simultaneously that casts a net of safety around people to just be people. Just let their peopleness roar, right? Ingrained. It is the trust in the innate wisdom of even the practice and the art of what we do, that same wisdom can be in our life and we can have what we want in a sustainable way that does uplift us and actually creates powerful impact community in a way that we do not get burnt out. And we do not end up with worse odds because we were not considering that if we're going to be the chalice that overflows and creates the safety, we have to fill the chalice. And so it revolutionized everything about the way I went about looking at the clients I did really want to work with. Who can I provide it for, right? What's lost in the medical discussion around the safety and the efficacy of community birth is that the relationship-based care and the culturally matched care are the reason they work, right? And so sustainability for me was, whoa, what am I resonating? Right? Who can I serve most effectively? What am I best at? Right? Where do I shine? And then how can I create a picture and a painting in my life that honors that sustainability? And through that netting, through that understanding of holding it, everything will fall into place. And I will be able to feel my way with my sacred yes and holy no through the things that strengthen that net and the things that weaken the net. I mean, it's what, you have to do it to know it. You have to, and it's being willing to get over the martyrdom, because that is what has to die as we move into the 21st century as midwives. We need our healers to heal themselves so we can heal each other. And so that, I'm going to leave it with that. Mm-hmm.
Ooh, you're so inspiring. I always love listening to you speak. You have such a depth of wisdom. Well, so you took this course and you opened a practice, and then very quickly you decided to go into group practice as a way of sustainability, I think. And then you started to work on your side hustle. And so we talk about this a lot, and I was hoping you'd be willing to kind of describe two of these ways I know personally that you were creating sustainability for yourself. Tell me more about what happened.
I will. I want to kind of tangent back to the group practice, because this was part of the learning of listening, right?
Yep.
Everybody sits with why they do midwifery and what profoundly brings them to it, right? For me, it is my belief that I am the royal du jour of the person who hires me, right? The birthing client, meaning I bring the best data and I bring everything I can, knowing my scope. And if we are aligned, it zings. If not, not. I almost went into group practice. And it was very interesting vibrationally what happened as we started to try to swirl our ideas into group, how they aligned and then how they didn't, and how that actually was part of my profound shift as well. Because it was not about it, and it was acknowledging in there that that nothing was wrong, that the experience and even kind of the heartbreak of the change was part of the learning that was going to get me closer to sustainability. Again, it's that talk with the innate force that flows through all the people we serve, right? If we acknowledge it in ourselves first, right? And so I continued on this single practice, but it did help me start to understand that what I love about midwifery is actually, okay, so remember how I told you I healed myself with my postpartum anxiety by becoming a midwife? I mean, that's not totally all it, but it's definitely some self-reflection I've done. I created the Pacific Birth Institute to come up with an economic infrastructure concept, a civil engineering concept that would sustainably educate a new community, culturally matched community birth assistant base and student midwife base that would educate and hold student midwife retention and assistant retention high, hopefully for increased completion, and then provide employment on the other side, right? So everything I didn't experience turned into my side hustle. There's a theme, at least in my life. Maybe check your own. We are the healing we seek.
Yes, I love it. I absolutely love it. So this side hustle, we obviously can go into as much detail as you want, but you took your knowledge, your gathered knowledge, and you turned it into a side income supports your day job. So I preach this. I love this. I think we should all be creating more side hustles. I think we should all be creating more ways, more income streams, more possibilities to create sustainability within this business. Tell me more about what yours has done or is doing for you.
Okay, so the side hustle we're talking about specifically, we're pulling away actually from my clinical practice. Advanced Midwifery and Wellness is my clinical practice in Anchorage. I do home birth, look me up, also in home postpartum and newborn care for C-section moms, VMAC moms, all sorts of moms, no matter where you deliver, bring the care home with you. So clinical plus, clinical, yeah. Now we're going to shift.
I want to interrupt you for a second, because even that is a side hustle. You're not just taking care of home birth moms. And I love this. And this is the way that you've wrapped it out into all the areas. So keep going, sorry.
Okay, and let me just give everybody who's going to join this class now the biggest tidbit, right? With that is, the reason I did it was because my sustainability was not, I have to make X amount of dollars or I'm not successful. It was, how can I do what I do best and what I love to do without incurring increased liability and actually increasing cash revenue in a quicker fashion. And this showed itself to me, and it has immediately become a river of income. So just what's up for your neighborhoods, right? But okay, now shifting to the Pacific Birth Institute. That is my business for all things, not just clinical practice. So I have a clinical practice, but this is my baby of all things newer, power with leadership, matriarchy rules, community is strong together. We are all the resource requirement we need. We are going to bottom up, grassroots, create a reason, the infrastructure to support the increase in community birth that our communities deserve, and start motivating that. And so my side hustle has been, we created a birth assistant training program. We launched it. Our first cohort was local in Anchorage, Alaska. We had 9 students, and we started in January of 2020. And we had, 8 midwifery practices lined up in the area that were going to take our birth assistants to births. And we had online curriculum, comprehensive skills training weekends, and then each of our students have access to birth residency. It's a 6-month birth residency calendar, and we want them to get at least 5 births in 6 months with up to 8+ midwifery practices, in each area. We've had 1 cohort in Anchorage, we've had 1 in the Kenai Peninsula so far, and we might be doing 1 in the interior of Alaska this year. Yeah, I'll stop there for a second. Go ahead and jump in.
So awesome. Like, I just want to cheer for you. Like, creating this program was an epic work of art. It was a labor of love for sure. But now that it's done, you can really see the benefit, right? You're really seeing people get excited about this. And I mean, I even think you're eligible for funding to take this nationally. Very exciting. Well, so let's say, where can people find you? Tell me all about the interwebs and the connections. Where can people find you?
Absolutely.
I'll ask you a few last questions.
Yeah, so with the Pacific Birth Institute, it's pacificbirthinstitute.com. We are just about to put a little bit more effort towards our social media presence, because right now we have available our prerequisites course for online, our basic skills course for online, and our prerequisites are available. And in the next, hopefully by March 1st, our basic skills and the beginning bundle of our advanced skills will be available. Our curriculum is targeted towards people of any walk of life that want to be able to show up at a birth in a community and be the right hand of a midwife. But that does include student midwives or newer midwives or people who are like, I have 5 students, I need somebody to just train. Can they take this program? Absolutely. The online program is completely available to everyone. And so it really is a lot more for anybody who wants to know more about birth, even people who just want to maybe attend birth in more communal living situations as assistants to their traditional birth workers. That's an entire cohort here too. And survivalists. We're going to get a lot more into the survivalism training and the advanced skills and look at some more of that depending on people's interest. Because it's really, this information is for everyone, right? This is for all of us. The more we all know, the more we're empowered. So if you're interested in anything like that, and what else we might be growing, we are looking at launching a potential community service prenatal postpartum clinic in Alaska, in Anchorage this year with midwives that participate with our students and getting new midwives consistent Medicaid income in local clinics. And so again, creating safety nets. I'm just seeing, this is how my brain works, right? So I'm just seeing what needs to be filled, and I'm seeing a creative way that hasn't been done before and isn't about power structure. It's about stabilizing and trusting in our providers that if they are given the right tools, that they can start growing in their own communities in culturally matched, relationship-based ways, and we can shift maternal odds numbers, hopefully in 3 generations, right? Hopefully quicker than we think.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And I love you. You're so amazing. It's so fun to hear your brain work.
I love you. I want to talk all night, but I want you to tell everybody else. All I can say right now, take this course. Okay, Augustine, ask me questions so I can talk more about you, or I can just say, take the course.
Well, I was just going to ask you, what's your strongest memory of the coursework? What do you remember that stays with you?
I mean, we also got to spend time in a hot tub in Colorado and deep dive at the end of the whole thing. So, I mean, like, yeah, when I think about the course, I'm like, ooh, Colorado too. You know.
Unfortunately, we're not doing that this year, COVID and all that.
I know. You know, honestly, the sacred yes and the holy no started to scrape away. Yeah, well, it started to scrape away the fear that I think a lot of new midwives hold, that we don't know enough to be midwives. When really effective midwives are listeners, and that's how you risk assess. We listen to our instincts in our consults, in the way our own branding makes us feel. We listen always. And that is what's asked. It's the divine gift and the divine responsibility in its own right, however you want to use words, right? Of walking what we do as midwives, of ushering life forward. And so that sacred yes and holy no helped me understand how I could sustainably delight in the structures that would support me, and know that in doing so, it supported my family and my community, because it's what I had to do to be in alignment so that my perfect image, because I got to tell you, it was never about numbers. It was never about numbers of clients. It was never about it. I don't want 10 clients if 8 of them are hemorrhaging all the time. I don't. No, you know what I mean? No, I don't. Some people may. But if we don't take the responsibility of the agency to make sure that we do that check-in and become the sustainable midwives, then we can become part of the problem. And that has to go away. We cannot martyr our way into saving these mothers. We have to help. We have to save ourselves.
Oh,
yeah.
That's so quotable. We cannot martyr our way into saving others. Wow. Well, absolutely. Well, so the Sacred Yes, Holy No workshop, work piece, or practice piece that I created is a way to calibrate your intuition. And we talk a lot about intuition in this class because midwifery is so much more than a business. And we are called on to make really critical decisions, sometimes life and death decisions, based on that intuition, that knowing that comes beyond the head. And we have to calibrate it. We have to really know how to access it. And that's what the Sacred Yes, Holy No process is all about. So thank you for that reflection, and thank you for all of your guidance and your clarity today. I just love speaking to you. I just adore you anyway. I love what you're out there doing in the world. I love that you've applied the idea to get multiple streams of revenue in your practice and in your side hustle, and you're making it work. Thank you for coming on to me. I love you. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for sharing everything. Let's stay in touch, okay, honey?
And I was the one that reviewed that it was the best money I ever spent on my career, and I stand by it. I stand by it. For anyone who's questioning, you will make it back. You will make it back vibrationally, on money, all of it. So
thank you for that. Thank you for that. You are such a gem. Thank you, Jen. Thank you so much, Jessica.